Hey, before we begin, take a deep breath. Just let yourself be here for a moment. Maybe you've noticed something strange before, like you're thinking, and then suddenly you feel like someone is noticing your thinking, noticing your feelings, noticing your mind, noticing everything you're feeling, everything you're thinking. And it hits you softly like a little tap. Wait, who's watching all this? It's okay if it feels a little odd. It may even make your chest tighten or your mind pause for a second. That's the hook, the quiet question that changes everything. And if you like exploring this kind of quiet curiosity, maybe hit subscribe. Let's wander here together. So, you notice your thoughts rising, falling, shifting. You catch the worry, the hope, the little rush of emotions. And sometimes it feels like you've stepped outside it all. You think, I see myself. I'm watching. There's a little sense of relief in that. Maybe even a sense of pride. I'm aware. I'm awake. But here's where it gets strange. Because right after you notice yourself noticing, another whisper comes in. And this one is softer, trickier. Who is that I? That little watcher. Who are they? And maybe you feel something shake inside. Maybe the ground feels a little less solid. You thought you found something real, something you could hold. But now, even that feels like maybe just another thought. And it's okay. It's really okay. You may want to grab onto the idea of the watcher, but Buddhism, well, it just gently invites you to keep looking, keep noticing without grabbing. It doesn't ask you to find the one watching. It doesn't ask you to look harder or to figure out a hidden self hiding behind your mind. It just whispers. Stay with what's right here. The sound of the wind, the feel of your body, the thought that comes, just let it be. Imagine hearing a bird outside. You hear it soft, clear, complete. You don't need to say, I hear the bird. The bird is already singing. And in that same way, your awareness, your noticing, doesn't need to be claimed by anyone. It's not something you own. Not really. Even this sense of I'm aware is maybe just another ripple in the water. And if you can let that thought float by, something light begins to stir. You start to feel maybe free from even needing to watch, free from holding on. You thought being aware was about control. You thought mindfulness meant holding the reins. But now, maybe you start to suspect even that sense of control was a little illusion. Not bad, not wrong, just not necessary. You start waking up from a deeper sleep, the one where even the watcher thought it was real. And in that quiet space, without needing to claim anything, awareness flows. It just moves, softly, easily, like sound through an empty room. And that's when the question, the strange little question, starts to fade. Not because you've answered it, but because there's no one left asking. Maybe it feels a little strange. Maybe it feels like nothing at all. And it's okay. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to find a final answer. Just sitting with it, noticing, letting it move, that's enough. And if you like these little whispers of awareness, maybe stick around. Hit subscribe. Let's explore this together. Softly, quietly, without rushing. Because here's the thing. The moment you stop chasing the watcher, something opens. You start to see the thoughts for what they are. Just thoughts. You start to see the feelings. Just feelings. Nothing behind them. Nothing owning them. And in that space, there's a little lightness. Maybe even a little quiet joy. You're not holding yourself up anymore. You're just letting it flow. And that's what I wanted to share today. That strange, quiet question, who's watching? It's not a puzzle you have to solve. It's a little door. And sometimes it opens all by itself. if you just let it. Sometimes after that first quiet question, who's watching? Another one sneaks in. It's softer, maybe quieter. You barely notice it at first. Who's watching the watcher? And then maybe even who's watching the one who's watching the watcher? It can feel endless, like looking into two mirrors that face each other. The images go on forever, and you start to wonder if any of it is real. It may feel a little dizzying, a little frustrating. You may think, something's wrong, something is broken. But it's okay. Really, it's not broken. It's just showing you that the center you were looking for, maybe it was never there. That who knows, who seems solid, is more like a ripple, just one more movement in a long chain. And each time you think you found it, that solid something behind it shifts. Something moves. And you look again and again and again. There's nowhere to land. There's nothing to catch. And you start to realize that was a trap all along. Believing there's a final point, a last knower, a real center. Buddhism doesn't tell you. Find the real observer. It quietly points out the loop itself. It says, see the chain. Notice how it moves. And then see that there's no need for a chain to hold you. It's like chasing your reflection in water. You reach for it and the ripples move. The reflection was never solid, never yours to catch. It was your belief that it had to be solid that kept you reaching. And slowly, maybe you notice a little space around the chasing. A soft place where you stop trying so hard. It's not magic. It's not some trick. It's just noticing. And noticing that the chain of watching, the endless mirrors, is empty. Not empty in a scary way. Just open. You start to see consciousness like the Buddha described it. Luminous, softly glowing. But not because someone owns a light. Not because there's a little self behind it making it shine. It's just bright, clear, open, free from having to belong to anyone. And it's okay if that feels strange at first. You may worry. If no one owns it, if no one's behind it, won't I disappear? And maybe, yes, something disappears. But it's just a confusion. Just the weight of thinking there has to be a final self, a final center. Awareness itself doesn't go anywhere. It just stops pretending to belong. And in that quiet, you start to rest. You don't feel lost. You don't feel empty. Maybe you feel lighter, wider. Something soft begins to settle. A little freedom you didn't know was waiting. You stop chasing the final knower. You stop trying to pin the light down. And awareness, it just is. Clear, present, but belonging to no one. And that's okay. That's really okay. Maybe it feels like coming home. Maybe it feels like breathing, effortless and soft. The chain of mirrors is still there, but you're no longer caught. You can watch it or not. It doesn't matter. You don't need to break it, just notice it. And when you do, a little calm spreads like the sky holding clouds but never needing to own them. And that's the thing, you realize that the search itself was optional. You don't have to keep asking. The loop isn't a problem. It's just a mirror showing itself. And in that seeing, you may begin to feel free. Free from holding, free from owning, free enough to rest, soft, quietly, with awareness flowing, without needing to name it, without needing to be it. And maybe, if you're like sitting here in that quiet, softly noticing, maybe subscribe, so we can wander through these little whispers together. No pressure, just breathing, just noticing, just being softly. It's okay. There's a moment in meditation, a quiet moment that most people don't notice. It comes slowly, softly, after the breath calms, after the mind's noise begins to thin. At first, you notice your body, the weight of it, the tension, the way you're sitting. Then thoughts appear quietly, softly, and you notice those too. And after some time, things start to shift, not all at once, not like a light switching on, but softer, subtler, like mist fading in the morning sun. The thoughts, the tensions, even the sense of you watching them, they start to loosen. You're still here, watching, feeling, knowing, and it may feel peaceful, gentle, maybe even a little light. And then something strange happens. You realize you're noticing that peacefulness too. Even calm becomes something to look at. Even the sense of being present becomes a place for the mind to stand and observe. You may think, I'm here, finally. But that thought that I'm here feeling, it's still a ripple, still a movement in the water. It feels true, maybe even wise, but it's not the solid center you were hoping for. It's okay. It's really okay. Buddhism, or maybe just this quiet noticing, invites you to sit with that, not to fix it, not to chase it, not to claim it. Just notice it. And if you sit with it long enough, softly, gently, something begins to shift. The observer you thought you had, the final knot of identity, starts to loosen. It doesn't vanish with a bang. It just softens. You don't push it away. You don't have to. You just see it as another ripple on the surface. And then silence deepens. Not the silence of an empty room, not the silence of stopping thought, but a quiet where even the idea of me begins to drift away. It's not blank. It's not sleep. It's knowing without someone doing the knowing. It's a little like sunlight. The sun shines, and it doesn't need to know that it shines. That's the quality of this moment. You're still aware, still present, still noticing. But there's no one left claiming the awareness. No I behind it. Nothing to hold on to. And it's okay if it feels strange. Maybe it feels like you're disappearing. Maybe it feels like you're losing something. But really, what fades is just a weight of needing to be someone, to hold on to a story, to own awareness. The awareness itself, it's still here. Free, quiet, gentle, open, and in that openness, there's something soft that settles, a kind of lightness, a kind of peace. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to figure it out. You don't even have to call it yours. It's just here, present, unclaimed, and it may feel like coming home. Maybe you want to sit with that a little longer. Maybe you want to breathe it in, softly, noticing without needing to label it. And if you like exploring this gentle quiet together, maybe subscribe. So we can keep sitting here, softly, gently watching without needing to know. It's okay. It's really okay. And this is the gift of that moment in meditation. The question that started it all, who's watching, starts to fade. Not because you've answered it. Not because you figured it out. But because there's no one left asking. And in that quiet, awareness just flows. It just is. Free, unclaimed, soft, present. After a while, after the mind has wandered through thoughts, through feelings, through every little watcher could find, something soft begins to settle. There's a silence that feels different. Not the quiet between sounds, not the pause between breaths, but a silence where no one owns anything. No one is standing behind the awareness. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be held. It's okay if that feels strange at first. Most of us carry a quiet fear that if we stop being someone, we'll disappear. But what fades is not you. Not really. What fades is a constant effort to be someone, to hold yourself together, to be aware as a little center inside. And without that weight, something opens. Something soft, wide, light. It may feel like breathing freely after being underwater, or like standing in a field, with nothing pressing in, nothing to hold on to, and yet everything is there. Thoughts still arise, sounds still move through the air, your body still breathes, and it's all happening without needing to belong to anyone. It's not empty in a cold way, not lonely, not hollow. It's open, alive, simple, and gentle, like the sky holding clouds, never clinging, never pushing them away, just holding space. Awareness is the same. It holds it all, but it's not someone's possession. No little I is standing behind it, claiming it. And this is where the idea of self truly ends. Not by rejecting anything, not by destroying anything, just by letting go of ownership, of the subtle voice that keeps saying, this is me, this is mine. And something strange happens when you do. You don't feel empty. You don't feel lost. You feel wider, lighter, freer, and maybe, just maybe, you notice something else. That sense of freedom, it wasn't hidden. It wasn't far away. It was waiting softly, quietly right behind the idea of me. And when the mind stops holding on, it breathes. Soft, free, open, like the sky. It's not a freedom of becoming something. It's a freedom from having to become it all. Nothing needs to be added, nothing removed. And yet awakening is here, not as a thing to grab, not as a place to reach. It's just this, just being. Fully here, fully present, without a watcher, without a center, without a name. And it's okay if it slips when you try to hold it. It's okay if it feels too big, too soft, too simple. That's the beauty of it. It was always here, just waiting for you to stop reaching, waiting for you to breathe softly and notice. If you like sitting in that soft quiet, letting it flow, maybe subscribe, just little nudges, gentle reminders to come back to this openness together. It's not about doing anything, not about fixing anything, just being here, soft, wide, light, and that's the peace beyond the search. Not earned, not achieved, just here, always, waiting, soft, present, free. If you follow this thread all the way, gently, softly, you may come to a quiet realization. Presence itself doesn't have a shape. There's no point you can reach, no layer to peel back, no solid you to find. What remains is simple, but not small. Some call it the unshaped presence. It holds everything, and yet it's not held by anything. You might expect it to feel distant or mysterious, but it doesn't. It feels like home, so natural, so ordinary, that you might wonder why you miss it all along. Like breathing, like space, like sunlight falling quietly through a window. The unshaped presence doesn't need to claim. It doesn't need to hide. It doesn't need to be named. It simply is. And in the past, you might have called this presence me, wrapped it in stories, in memories, in little labels. But those things, they never held it. They never could. Now, those clothes, those stories, they gently set themselves down. You don't need them anymore. And that's the thing. The Buddha didn't describe this as a place to arrive at. He spoke of it as what remains when clinging ends. Not something added. Not something you have to become. Just what's left when nothing more needs to be held. There's no need to search for it. Searching hides it. It's like looking for your glasses while you're already wearing them. The unshaped presence isn't trapped in thought. It isn't bound by the mind. It doesn't belong to the one who observes. And the best part, you don't need to protect it. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to become it. You were never apart from it. It's okay if it feels strange at first. Maybe it feels so ordinary that you almost miss it. Maybe you feel like, I should be doing something, noticing something, holding on to something. But the truth is, you don't. You just rest here, softly, openly, fully, just presence unshaped, unclaimed, free. And maybe, just maybe, you notice a little smile inside, a little softness. Because for the first time, there's no need to hold yourself together. No need to be the watcher, the knower, the center. Nothing is missing. Nothing is needed. Just this, the quiet, soft, unshaped presence that was always here, patiently waiting, quietly welcoming you home. And if you like wandering here, softly, quietly maybe subscribe. Just little reminders to come back, to rest, to notice without needing to be anyone or anything. It's okay. It's really okay. And that's where it rests. Unshaped, open, gentle, free. Not because you've worked for it. Not because you found it. But because you stop holding. You stop searching. You just are. Sometimes after you started noticing the unshaped presence, the mind drifts again. It may bring up old habits, little stories, things you thought were gone. Thoughts like, I should understand this more. I should feel this differently. I should be someone. And it's okay. That's just the mind doing its job. You don't need to push it away. You don't need to argue with it. You can just notice softly, gently, like watching leaves float on a stream. And as you watch, you may notice a shift. The mind starts to slow. The ripples fade. Not all at once. Not like a light switching on. But softly, slowly. The tension of needing to be someone starts to loosen. The pressure of keeping yourself together, it eases. And in that space, something opens. Something quiet, soft, and wide. It's okay if it feels strange at first. Maybe it feels like nothing is happening. Maybe it feels like the world is the same. But inside, there's a little breathing space. A little softness. Awareness flows. But it doesn't belong to anyone. It's like a river that moves, not held by banks, not owned by a gardener. Just flowing, and sometimes in that gentle space, a little smile appears. Not forced, not earned, just there. Maybe you notice it in your chest, maybe at the corners of your mouth. It's the smile of letting go of the search, letting go of holding. You don't vanish. You don't lose yourself. You just widen. You just rest. And then maybe a strange little thought drifts in. But if there's no center, if there's no one here, do I even exist? And it's okay to notice that. And then you might also notice the quiet reply. You exist softly, but not as someone who owns existence. You exist like sunlight exists, like wind exists, like the open sky exists. It's not taken away. It's not yours or mine. It just is. The mind may try to reach again. It may want to grab, to claim, to control. And it's okay. Just notice it. Just watch it like the river watches the leaves. Noticing doesn't mean holding. And slowly, maybe you begin to trust this soft, unclaimed presence. You begin to see that freedom doesn't mean doing anything. It doesn't mean finding anything. It just is. And here's the quiet gift. When the mind stops needing to own awareness, stops needing to claim the I who watches, a deep, soft peace arrives. Not loud, not flashy, not needing your attention. Just there, flowing gentle, open, and it's okay to sit with it, to breathe, to rest, to notice, softly, gently without pressure. Maybe you want to sit here for a while. Maybe you want to come back tomorrow, softly, gently letting it flow. And if you like sitting in this quiet space, maybe subscribe. Just little nudges to remind you it's okay. You don't need to search. You don't need to fix. You just are. And that's the beauty of this moment. Soft, wide, open, gentle, free. Not because you worked for it, not because you understood it, but because you stopped holding, you stopped grasping. You just rest, and in that resting, the unshaped presence flows quietly, endlessly, gently, right here. Sometimes, even after you've begun resting in that quiet, unclaimed presence, the mind drifts again. It may bring up small worries, old habits, little reminders of who you are or who you should be. And that's okay. That's normal. The mind is used to holding on to something. You don't have to push it away. You can just notice it softly, like noticing clouds drifting across the sky. And as you watch, something subtle begins to shift. The tension of needing to hold yourself together, of needing to be a center, it starts to ease, slowly, gently, not with force, not with effort, just by noticing. And in that noticing, something soft opens. A space, quiet and wide, that isn't dependent on thought or on any eye behind the thoughts. It may feel strange at first. Maybe it feels like nothing is happening. Maybe it feels like the mind is still chattering. And it's okay. You don't have to silence it. You don't have to chase it away. You can just sit here, breathing, letting awareness move, letting it flow without needing to hold it, name it, or own it. And sometimes a gentle curiosity arises. What am I noticing this from? Who is noticing? And that's okay too. You don't have to answer it. You don't have to fix it. You can just notice that the question itself is part of the flow. And slowly the question softens. It loses its urgency. There's no need to find an answer. There's no need to grasp a final I. And in that soft letting go, something subtle happens. Awareness doesn't disappear. Presence doesn't vanish. But there's no one left claiming it. No little I standing behind it whispering, "This is mine." It just is, like sunlight falling quietly in a room, like wind brushing over the trees, like the sky holding clouds, soft, wide, gentle, unclaimed. You may notice a lightness spreading, not like weight is lifted, but like the weight of holding is gone. You may notice a kind of quiet joy, not loud, not flashy, just soft, like a gentle smile that comes without trying. And you may begin to trust that you don't have to be anyone, that you don't have to own this moment, that just resting here softly, gently is enough. And maybe, just maybe, you notice the subtle freedom of it. Freedom from reaching, from grasping, from needing to understand. Freedom from even needing to be aware. Just being soft, quiet, open. And it's okay if it drifts in and out. That's how it flows. That's how it moves. And it's beautiful. If you like sitting here, softly, letting the mind flow, letting the awareness flow, maybe subscribe. Just little nudges to remind yourself that it's okay. You don't have to chase, you don't have to fix. You can just rest. Softly, gently, fully free. And that's the gift of this layer of noticing. Not something earned, not something achieved. Just here, flowing, quiet, gentle, unclaimed. And it's okay. Really, it's okay. Sometimes the mind drifts again, even when you started resting in that soft, unclaimed presence. Old thoughts, little stories, tiny reminders of who you are or who you should be may float in. And it's okay. That's normal. The mind is used to holding something. You don't need to push it away. You can just notice it gently, like watching ripples on a quiet pond. And slowly, very slowly, you may notice a subtle change. The little eye that was always trying to watch, to control, to name everything, it softens. Not with force, not by effort. It just loosens. And in that loosening, a quiet space opens. Wide, soft, gentle. A space that doesn't depend on thought, doesn't need a center. It may feel strange at first. You may feel like nothing is happening. The mind may still chatter. And that's okay. You don't have to silence it. You don't have to chase it away. You can just rest here softly, noticing, letting it flow, letting awareness move without needing to hold it, own it, or name it. And sometimes in that soft space, a quiet clarity appears. Awareness begins to feel luminous, not shiny or magical, not owned by anyone, just soft light, clear, open, gentle, flowing. It doesn't need a knower. There's no one standing behind it saying, "This is mine." It just is, like sunlight falling through a window, like wind moving over trees, like the sky holding clouds, softly, gently unclaimed. You may feel a lightness spreading, not like weight lifted, but like the weight of holding gone. Not a loss, but relief. Not emptiness, but freedom. And in that freedom, you notice something beautiful. You don't need to be someone. You don't need to own awareness. You don't need to figure anything out. You can just rest softly, gently, fully. Maybe a subtle joy arises. Not loud, not flashy, just soft, like a quiet smile appearing from nowhere. And maybe, just maybe, you trust it. Trust that it's okay to not hold, not grasp, not name, not even notice. If you don't want to, that soft freedom is always here, flowing unclaimed, gentle, wide, open. And if you like sitting here, softly, letting awareness flow, letting presence breathe, maybe subscribe. Just a little nudge to remind yourself, it's okay. You don't need to chase. You don't need to fix. You can just rest softly, gently, freely. And that's the gift of this quiet, unclaimed awareness. Not earned, not achieved, just here, flowing, gentle, luminous, free. And it's okay. Really, it's okay. Sometimes you sit quietly and the mind slows. The chatter, the little stories, the I should and I must, they fade a little softly, like clouds drifting across a calm sky. And in that gentle quiet, you may notice something subtle. The awareness itself is still here, soft, open, free, and it doesn't belong to anyone. It's okay if that feels strange. Maybe it feels like nothing is happening. Maybe you feel like I should be doing something, noticing something, holding on to something. And it's okay to notice that thought. It's just another ripple. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to follow it. You can just breathe softly, gently, letting awareness move without holding on to it. And slowly, very slowly, you may notice a deeper softness. The last little knot of me, the one that says, I am watching all this. It begins to loosen, not with force, not because you try to push it away, just by noticing, just by letting it be and realizing it doesn't need to be held. And then a strange, gentle freedom arises, not loud, not flashy, not something you need to claim, just soft, open, gentle, like a river flowing through a wide, empty valley, like the wind brushing over the trees, like the sky holding clouds, not clinging, not owning, just letting be. You may feel a lightness, a quiet joy, a softness spreading in your chest. And you notice that you don't need to do anything. You don't need to hold on to this moment. You don't need to name it. You don't even need to be aware of it. It just is, and that's enough. Sometimes a little thought drifts in. If there's no center, if no one owns this, do I exist? And it's okay to notice that. And then softly you realize you exist gently, but not as someone who needs a whole existence. You exist like sunlight exists, like wind exists, like the open sky exists, soft, free, unclaimed. And here's the quiet gift. You don't need to chase. You don't need to fix. You don't need to hold on to awareness. You just rest softly, gently, openly. And in that resting, the unshaped presence flows. Quietly, gently, freely, endlessly. And maybe, just maybe, if you like coming back to this quiet, softly, gently, maybe subscribe. Just a little reminder, it's okay. You don't need to search. You don't need to know. You just are soft, open, free. And that's the gift of sitting here, of letting go, of noticing without claiming, of being fully present without needing to be anyone, without needing to hold anything, unshaped, soft, quiet, free, and it's okay. Really, it's okay. And now, here we are, all the layers, all the questions, all the watchers have been seen, not forced, not pushed, just noticed, slowly, gently, softly. And what remains is simple, wide, open, unclaimed. It may feel strange at first. Maybe it feels like nothing is happening. Maybe the mind whispers. But who is here? Who is experiencing this? And it's okay. That's normal. And then, softly, you may notice that question fading. Not because it's answered. Not because you figured it out. But because there's no one left asking. The awareness, the presence that's still here, gentle, clear, open, and it doesn't need a knower. No little I behind it. No need to hold. No need to claim. Just is, like sunlight flowing through a quiet room, like wind brushing over the trees, like the sky holding clouds, soft, wide, free. And in that soft freedom, you may notice a deep, quiet joy, not loud, not flashy, not something to chase, just soft, gentle, open, present, and you don't need to do anything to earn it. You don't need to hold on to it. You don't need to name it. You don't even need to be aware of it. It just is, and maybe a subtle smile comes, a quiet relief, a softness in your chest, because for the first time, you realize you don't need to be someone. You don't need to own awareness. You don't need to figure anything out. You just rest fully, softly, freely, openly. It's okay if it drifts in and out. That's how it flows. That's how it moves. And it's beautiful. It's not something to hold, not something to grasp. Not something to label, just this soft, gentle, open, free. And maybe if you want, you can come back here softly, gently, and just notice. And maybe subscribe. Not because you have to, not because you need to. Just little reminders, little nudges to come back to this quiet, this soft, unshaped presence, this gentle freedom, softly, quietly, always waiting. And that's it. The last layer, the final question, the soft quiet that was always here, patiently waiting, quietly welcoming you home. No one to claim it, no one to own it, just present, soft, wide, gentle, free, and it's okay. Really, it's okay.